In the United States, authorities have arrested an active duty soldier, Gannon Ken Van Dyke, and that too in a case that mixes military secrecy, financial market, and alleged insider trading using classified intelligence. He was not an outsider. He was inside the whole system, a trained soldier, a trusted operator. Somebody with access to sensitive planning channels and allegedly tied to a covert military operation. Well, wait. At the center of all of this case is reported classified mission linked to Venezuela and its ex-leadership under Nicolas Maduro. Well, the operation itself, it was not publicly acknowledged at that time though, but investigators say that he had access to non-public details while it was still in planning and execution stage. And you know what? That's where everything changed, because instead of treating that information as strictly confidential, military intelligence prosecutors allege that he used it for personal financial gain through a digital prediction market called Polymarket. Well, wait. Polymarket, it works very differently from traditional betting. It allows user to trade on the outcomes of real-world events, political outcome, conflict, election, global development, and that's where the alleged misuse becomes critical. According to investigators, this soldier, he placed multiple traders predicting the outcome of events involving Venezuela before those events were publicly known. Not after the news broke, not alongside public information, but ahead of it, while still inside classified circles. Well, between late December and January, he allegedly placed about $33,000 in bet tied to these outcomes. And then, as the military operation unfolded and results came up public, those positions, they were reportedly paid off, generating about $400,000 in profit. Can you imagine that? But what drew even more attention, it was what happened next. Authorities alleged that after receiving the profit, funds were moved through multiple crypto wallets, converted, shifted into new brokerage account. Well, some of those accounts, investigators say, were newly created and not previously linked to his name in financial record. In fact, there were also attempts to erase the traces. Reports suggest that he asked to delete his Polymarket account, claiming loss of access to the email credentials here. At the very same time, changes were allegedly made to the crypto-linked email addresses. Moves investigators say looked like an effort to distance himself from the transactions here. This triggered deeper scrutiny from financial marketing system, which flagged the unusual betting pattern tied very closely to the geopolitical events. Once the pattern was identified, the case escalated rapidly. The US Department of Justice then filed multiple charges, including the wire fraud, commodity fraud, theft of government information, unlawful use of confidential data, and illegal monetary transactions. Each charge carries potentially long prison sentences, by the way, in some cases, decades. Officials have also emphasized a key point here that military personnel, they are legally bound by strict non-disclosure agreement, NDA. These agreements explicitly prohibit the sharing, using, or benefiting from the classified information in any form, specifically for the financial gains here. And this is where the broader concern begins, because this case is no longer just about one soldier. It raises question about how emerging prediction market they are interacting with global events and whether sensitive information can be indirectly monetized through the digital platforms or not. It also highlights a growing risk in modern conflict environment, by the way, where warfare, intelligence, finance, and online trading systems, they are increasingly interconnected. A single piece of insider knowledge, if misused, it can move the entire market and generate massive profit in minutes. Well, for now, Van Dyke faces federal court proceeding, and investigators are still tracing financial flows, crypto moments, and communication record to build the full timeline of the event. So here we have a soldier, a secret operation, a prediction market, and a $400,000 outcome that now sits at the center of a federal investigation, because in today's world, information is no longer just power. It's also money, and when those two collide, the consequences can no longer be theoretical. They are legal, they are financial, and they are deeply personal.